Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls, start saving thousands in interest and fees, and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My name is Jessie. I'm a United States Special Forces widow. This gives me a unique perspective on the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for Point of View.
All right, this is Jessie. I am so happy to have my voice back for anybody who listened in or tried to last night. That episode, that's going for the dumpster. We're not even reviving that one. But I got the same topic for you tonight. Now, first, I have to start off with anyone listening to me live in an evacuation area for Hurricane Matthew, get out now. You heard me. If you are listening to me live or shortly after this show has aired, which is Thursday, October 6th, it is 9 p.m. Eastern Time. If Hurricane Matthew is still bearing down on the East Coast and you are listening to me live or on replay and you are in an evacuation zone, this show will wait for you. That's why I'm on iTunes, that's why I'm on the Google Play Store. That's why Jessie's POV can be downloaded from Spreaker. There's a dozen ways to find it. Stop listening to this show, get in your car, and get out. Okay? Get out now. Alright. Speaking of the list of places Jessie's POV can be heard, we're on Blueberry, we're on Pocket Cast, iTunes, Google Play. Yeah, the Google Play Music Store. We're there. Have to double check on TuneIn. I'm not sure if we've gotten back there yet. But yeah, we are a little bit all over the place. So if you're having trouble finding this show to listen to on demand, you're not looking very far. I promise. I promise. You are not looking very far. Alright. I am almost caught up. I've got the same story I was trying to cover last night. Which is the escalation of Russia against the United States when it comes to Syria. Oh yeah, you just heard me. Russian escalation. Alright, and you're sitting here going, yeah, so Russia's saber rattling. People, Russia doesn't saber rattle. They kick ass. Excuse my language. They kick tail. I'm not even sure if they bother taking names. Russia is very aggressive. And I've got several stories on that. Give me just a second so I can sort them out and rack them up for you. Russia is getting more aggressive. They are. They are ratcheting it up very hard, very fast, and they want us to back out and let them do whatever they want. I pray that doesn't happen. Yeah, Mr. Frog's still hanging around. Alright. I'm going to start this off with an audio clip, because I got a stack of audio clips on this. This is General David Petraeus. And this is the shorter of the two clips I have. And this was his testimony before, I believe it was a Senate committee hearing. All right, let's take a listen.
Let me now turn to the situation in Syria. Syria today, Mr. Chairman, is a geopolitical Chernobyl, spewing instability and extremism over the region and the rest of the world. Like a nuclear disaster, the fallout from the meltdown of Syria threatens to be with us for decades, and the longer it is permitted to continue, the more severe the damage will be. It is frequently said that there is no military solution to Syria or the other conflicts roiling the Middle East. This may be true, but it is also misleading. For in every case, if there is to be any hope of a political settlement, a certain military and security context is required, and that context will not materialize on its own. We and our partners need to facilitate it, and over the past 4 years, we have not done so.
All right, so that was General David Petraeus' take on what is going on in Syria. Now, for anybody wanting to discuss this with me in real time, although I can always hang out later, I am in the KLRN chat room. I am busier in a beehive, but I am over in the chat room. I'll be more than happy to chat with you, hang out, sort it out, and explain the snafus. Alrighty. Now, let's get back to some of these articles. And boy, do I have a stack of them. Alright, just taking me a minute to get them all out, because I was away from my desk and it seems to have rearranged itself. Although I have a feeling that it had some help. I really do. Alright. Yeah, that's all show prep I'm thumbing through, trying to find the right ones. That one's at least in the same vein. That one will work. Oh yeah, I know, I'm not quite as with it as I'd like to be. That's for another topic altogether. Where are the good ones I had yesterday? And I know I didn't throw them out because I knew I was going to have to redo this topic. Alright, one more second. Just bear with me, folks. I promise it'll be worth it in the end. Because I'm going to play Connect the Dots probably like no one has ever connected these dots for you. Alright. Alright, here's the long and short of it. We're going to listen to one more audio clip, and then I'm going to start breaking a few things down. Here's another clip featuring General David Petraeus.
It's increasingly appearing likely that Syria may not be able to be put back together again. Humpty Dumpty has fallen, and again, I'm not sure you can piece him back together. It is, I think, more likely now that you could have de facto partition. Certainly the Syrian Kurds, I think, will strive to maintain an autonomous region. The Sunni Arabs, at a certain point, Bashar al-Assad will overextend again, as he was before, and that is the majority of the country, the Sunni Arabs, and the Alawite Shia Arabs and others of his regime are a decided minority. He's certainly trying to extend the areas that he controls to encompass all of Aleppo, which used to be the biggest city in Syria. But it's unclear how much farther he feels that he can go. This would certainly put the majority of the population under his control, the majority that is left in these areas. But again, I think it is likely to, with agreement or without, that you are just going to see a situation develop in which there is a Kurdistan with considerable autonomy, an Alawite stand controlled by Bashar and his regime, and then areas that are under control of various Sunni elements. And the question is how much they can be made cohesive once the Islamic State and the Al-Qaeda affiliate are defeated.
That unleashes some pretty formidable centrifugal forces in the Middle East. Where does that leave the region, do you think?
Well, I think, frankly, those forces have been unleashed already. There certainly will be more that will be generated. I've termed Syria as a geopolitical Chernobyl, spewing violence, instability, and extremism, as well as a tsunami of refugees, not just into neighboring countries in the millions, but even all the way into Europe and our NATO allies, causing very considerable domestic political challenges for some of our NATO allies. When you see Chancellor Merkel her party come in third, not even second, in her home state of Mecklenburg, you realize that there are some dynamics that have been unleashed by this that, again, have profound implications. And European countries now, I think, are dealing with these in a very pragmatic way. The deal with Turkey to keep the refugees in Turkey and frankly, pay them to enable them to host these in camps and so forth. Again, very pragmatic. Need to do something similar with respect to those that are coming out of North Africa now. Very considerable number that makes it across the sea into Italy. Again, these kinds of issues all have come out of that geopolitical Chernobyl that is called Syria.
It's a pretty bleak outlook for the man who was able to turn the tide in Iraq. Do you think there's no hope, really, to turn the tide in Syria?
Well, again, it depends how you define turning the tide. I think that most people would consider it a Herculean effort if we could just reduce the violence and the bloodshed and indeed achieve a ceasefire while still being able to go after the Islamic State and the Al-Qaeda affiliate. But again, without a military context that gives incentives to Bashar al-Assad and indeed his Russian supporters some incentives to agree to this, I think that the prospects for that are unlikely.
All right, so there you have, not my opinion, but that of General David Petraeus. Now, no matter what you think of the Iraq War, no matter what you think of it, you have to admit that his strategy was brilliant. Okay? No matter what you think of it, he turned around the sinking ship of the Iraq War. You want to debate with me? Come find me in chat at KLRNRadio.com if you're listening live. Alright. Alright, Alright. Russia is getting more aggressive. I got a stack of articles here. I'm going to start with just a few of the headlines. Russia suspends nuclear energy deal with U.S. Putin suspended a treaty with Washington on cleaning up weapons-grade uranium. Russia sends more air defense missiles to Syria. New role for Trump advisor and former lawmaker is lobbyist for Syrian opposition. ISIS apocalyptic death cult believe Armageddon is imminent as U.S. forces close in. Eastern Aleppo may be totally destroyed by end of year. Alright, there should be another one. Russia posts provocative tweet warning U.S. on Syria, mocking earnest. Russia warns U.S. not to intervene in Syria. Threatens to shoot down any airstrike attempts. Alright. I think a few of those, the connections are obvious. Come on. Now, these aren't all from today. I will be the first to admit that. These aren't all from today. This just shows you how I keep up with stuff and play connect the dots, and sometimes my desk gets a little cluttered. But now you hear why. Because this article dated October 4th, 2016. Alright, hang on. Just trying to adjust my mic a little bit better. The Russian military said Tuesday it had beefed up its forces in Syria with state-of-the-art air defense missiles, an announcement that follows Washington's move to suspend contacts with Russia over Syria. Alright, so timeline. We stopped talking to them about Syria. They decided to bring in more air defense missiles. That right there is a signal to me that they're going to start threatening or actually trying to shoot down our planes. Not good. Then we have... I'm going to set aside the Trump advisor and former lawmaker lobbyist role for just a moment. So, Russia provocative tweet warning U.S. on Syria. The Russian government is ratcheting up warnings on Twitter to the U.S. government not to interfere with its military operations in Syria, even suggesting American aircraft could be targeted by its air defense systems. So, in a provocative tweet Wednesday by the Russian embassy in Washington, posted a side-by-side photo of White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest and the Russian S-300 missile system. And the caption says, first of all, the tweet said, Russia will take every defensive measure to protect their personnel in Syria. And then the little image said, USA wonder why Russia would want to carry the S-300 to Syria. The caption, and that's next to Josh Earnest's picture. And then the caption says, because you never really know what kind of assistance terrorists might get. And that tweet is dated October 5th. Ernest tried to laugh it off. The photo coincides with other threats by Russian officials that Moscow would respond militarily to any perceived interference as the country boosts its military presence in Syria. So we've sent him the S-300, where it's obviously up and running or nearly so. Now we're sending out provocative tweets. Alright. Russia suspends nuclear energy deal with U.S. Russia has further curtailed its cooperation with the United States in nuclear energy, suspending a research agreement and terminating one-on-one uranium conversion. The Russian government said that as a countermeasure to the U.S. sanctions imposed on Russia over the Ukraine crisis, it was putting aside a nuclear deal an energy-related research pact with the U.S., but it also said it was terminating agreement between state nuclear energy firm Rosatom and the U.S. Department of Energy on feasibility studies into the conversion of Russian nuclear reactors to low-enriched uranium. For more on what is low-enriched uranium and what is high-enriched uranium, please see the Heavy Water episode of Conversations in Science, where Dr. Judy L. Moore explains all this stuff. Alright. Yeah, I know, I'm all over the place tonight. In Washington, a State Department spokesman said the U.S. had not received an official notification from Russia, although he had seen some media reports of the suspension of the research agreement. Now, Vladimir Putin also suspended a treaty with Washington on cleaning up weapons-grade uranium, or weapons-grade plutonium. Again, you don't know what that is? See Conversations in Science. It's a great episode. The weapons-grade plutonium one, the real thumbnail version, U.S. and Russia were going to work together to get rid of some of the weapons-grade plutonium that was hanging around. Oh, yeah. I mean, whoever's the next president of the United States, they are going to face a huge problem with Russia. Doesn't matter which one of the current candidates wins. Russia says the United States has little influence over the course of democracy in Russia or on its willingness to use force in Syria, Ukraine, or elsewhere to achieve its goals. Trust me, for Putin, most Russian leadership, it's a zero-sum world, says Andrei Weiss of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace think tank. Weiss argued that Russian leader was unlikely to change his stripes before Russia's 2018 presidential election. In an atmosphere where Putin's own domestic fortunes depend on having this external money, namely the U.S., it is unlikely to change, folks. Unlikely to change. Alright, my oh my, where does the time go? Oh yeah, we're at the bottom of the hour, and it is time to pay them bills. So we are going to take a commercial break. Oh yeah, we gotta pay those bills. Alright, I will be back with you on the other side.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
You can lay down if you wanna. You can run away if you wanna. You can pretend that this is totally okay if you wanna. You can play dead if you wanna. Forget what they said if you wanna. Turn your back on the country needing you right now, but I don't wanna.
Alright, thank you for hanging in there with me over that commercial break. And I'm going to be upfront. Any of you listening for our favorite friends, Iran and North Korea, I don't think they're showing up today. I'm going to focus on this mess with Russia and Syria because it's huge. Russia has gotten significantly more aggressive against the United States, and they are walking all over the United States. They really are. Alright, I've got another audio clip to play you. We've already heard General David Petraeus describe Syria as a political Chernobyl. We have already heard his exchange saying there isn't going to just be a diplomatic solution. There's going to have to be both a military and diplomatic solution to this. Well, I've got more. Oh boy, do I have clips on this today. Alright, let's see, which one did I want to play next? I'm going to grab this slightly old one of Bashar al-Assad when he was in the United States during the UN General Assembly, blaming the United States for what's going on in Syria, at least in part. Let's take a listen. Now, I will say he was responding to the fact that a UN aid convoy had been destroyed. All right, had to put it in context for you. Now let's take a listen.
It was 4 airplanes that kept attacking the position of the Syrian troops for nearly 1 hour, or a little bit more than 1 hour. You don't commit a mistake.
Okay, he is reacting to the fact that 4 American planes accidentally bombed, or some American planes, I don't know how many, he claims 4, accidentally bombed some Syrian troops. But let's finish listening.
For more than 1 hour. This first, second, they weren't attacking a building in a quartier. They were attacking a huge place constituted of many hills, and there was no terrorist adjacent to the Syrian troops there. At the same time, the ISIS troops or the ISIS militants attacked right away after the American strike. How could they know that the Americans are going to attack that position in order to gather the militants to attack right away and to capture it 1 hour after the strike? So it was definitely intentional, not unintentional, as they claimed.
All right, now he is saying that we are working with the Islamic State. I have not seen proof of this. I will do some research, check into it. Maybe I'll bring it to you on a slowdown. If I don't find much, I'll probably mention it on air during one of my regular shows. But there's a few more seconds of this. Let's continue to listen.
Regarding the claim of the White House yesterday, accusing either the Syrian or the Russian, in that regard, I would say whatever the American officials said about the conflicts in Syria in general has no credibility. Whatever they say, it just lies and, let's say, bubbles, has no foundation on the ground.
So what happened to the convoy? Who should be held responsible?
Those convoys were in the area of the militants, were in the area under the control of the terrorists. That's what they should accuse first. The people or the militants, the terrorists who are responsible of the security of this convoy. So we don't have any idea about what happened. The only thing that we saw was a video of burned car, destroyed trucks, nothing else.
All right, that was his reaction to when the UN has stopped all aid convoys because one was attacked. All right. I've got another clip about Russia. Let's take a listen.
We turn overseas tonight. That massive escalation by Russia, lobbing missiles at Syria, they say targeting ISIS. But tonight, U.S. officials now say some of those missiles accidentally crash-landed in Iran. And troubling images coming in, appearing to show children in Syria being rushed from the scene after those strikes. Here's ABC's chief global affairs correspondent, Martha Raddatz, tonight.
It was an impressive display of firepower. That volley of 26 cruise missiles headed to Syria. But we now know 4 of them never made it, crashing into rural Iran. But those Russian airstrikes they claim are targeting ISIS have been devastating. A Syrian aid group says these young children have nothing to do with ISIS. The U.S. says Russia is targeting rebel forces opposing the dictator Bashar al-Assad. Today, U.S. Defense Secretary Ash Carter predicted Russia will face the consequences for its growing involvement in Syria.
We've seen increasingly unprofessional behavior from Russian forces, and I also expect that in coming days the Russians will begin to suffer casualties in Syria.
David, Russia's involvement poses a danger to the U.S. as well. Those cruise missiles and airstrikes are launched without warning, meaning U.S. pilots have to do their best to stay out of the way. David.
Martha Raddatz in our Washington bureau tonight. Martha, thank you.
All right, as you heard, that audio clip was courtesy of ABC News. I've got another short one about Russia. Let's take another listen.
An extraordinary warning tonight from Russia to the U.S. against conducting military strikes against Syria. In a strongly worded statement, a spokesperson for the Russian defense minister said any strikes against President Bashar Assad's regime targets could result in American aircraft being shot down. That statement read in part, quote, stealth aircraft may encounter a disappointing reality.
Alright, so they are threatening to shoot our aircraft down with those new air defense missiles they moved into Syria. See how all the dots are connecting? Alright, here's one more.
Well, Clarissa, the Russians say they regret that decision by Washington to suspend those talks on the Syrian ceasefire. But Moscow is refusing to accept any responsibility for the collapse. Instead, the Russian Foreign Ministry is blaming the United States for that. Washington, it says, simply did not fulfill its commitments, such as dividing jihadis from moderate rebels. The US, it says, is now trying to shift blame onto someone else, it added in a statement. Of course, this peace effort was always plagued by fundamentally different ambitions for Syria in Moscow and Washington. Russia's key objective has been to bolster its ally, the Syrian president, Bashar al-Assad. Moscow sees him as a barrier against the spread of Islamic fundamentalism and as a guarantor of Russian interests in Syria, whereas Washington sees him very differently, a figure who is unpalatable, someone with too much blood on his hands and someone who should be replaced. Now, those differences over Syria are also part of a much broader and quickly deteriorating Russian-US relationship, which includes disagreements over Ukraine, economic sanctions and nuclear disarmament now as well, because Moscow has just announced that it's pulling out of a key nuclear deal brokered with the United States back in 2000, aimed at destroying tons of radioactive plutonium that could have been weaponized. Arms reduction has been one area where the former Cold War rivals had successfully cooperated. But now Moscow is making that contingent on progress in other areas too. If the plutonium deal is to be resumed, the Kremlin says, US troops and infrastructure in some NATO countries must be reduced, it says. And all economic sanctions against Russia, many of them imposed over Ukraine, must be lifted. Back to you, Clarissa.
Alright, so Russia's going, no, we're not going to talk to you about Syria till you back away from part of NATO. I'm sure this does not please our NATO allies. Now, I have a feeling the NATO ally they're looking at, while I haven't heard any specific confirmation or been able to find a good news source on it, would be Turkey. Because Russia and Turkey are what I'm going to call frenemies. Russia and Turkey are trying to proceed with more normalized relations and keep some economic projects running. In the meantime, Turkey is allowing the United States to use one of its air bases as a NATO ally to launch strikes against ISIS. Now, remember those air defense missiles? Russia is now saying, you guys get too close to, you bomb targets we don't like, we can shoot you down. This is not a friendly environment to be sending pilots up in. Not in the least. Now, I don't care who gets into the White House, who's up there raising their right hand, taking that oath come January 20th. However, it is safe to say that the U.S.-Russian relationship is deteriorating and deteriorating significantly, and that whoever it is will face a heavy price. They will have all kinds of problems. Earlier today, alright, so we've got Russia warning the U.S. not to intervene in Syria. In a bluntly worded statement, a spokesman for Russia's defense ministry warned that Russia and Syrian government had deployed sufficient air defenses to block any potential attacks It follows rumbling in Washington that the White House may be considering launching strikes against some Syrian regime military targets as an alternative option for moving forward in the Syrian conflict after the collapse of the U.S.-Russian ceasefire negotiations. Oh yeah, those negotiations are shattered. Tuesday, the Pentagon was presenting the Obama administration with the option of airstrikes at meetings this week. The strikes would be intended to increase pressure on the Assad regime and Moscow to halt strikes on civilians and to return to possible peace negotiations. The strikes are now back on the table, but President Obama is still very unlikely to approve them. Major General Igor Konashkov, the Russian Defense Ministry spokesman, directly addressed the reports in a briefing on Monday, where he warned the U.S. against trying to intervene. Konashkov said it follows to be really conscious that there will hardly be time in the calculations of the Russian air defense units to clarify on the direct line the precise flight plan of missiles and who they belong to, referring to the hotline already established by the U.S. and Russia to prevent clashes between their aircraft while conducting airstrikes. Kalashnikov warned that Russia had deployed an advanced S-300 and S-400 anti-aircraft missiles in its bases in Syria. Bases, plural. Syria, relatively small country. Russia warned that Kalashnikov warned that Russia. Okay, the ministry spokesman had the illusion of dilettantes about the existence of stealth aircraft may encounter a disappointing reality. So in other words, don't think you can hide from our radar. We've got the ability to track even the most stealth of aircraft. So I've also got a statement here today from the UN envoy about the poor civilians trapped in Aleppo and his suggestion for how to slow things down and get back on track.
I would then like to ask the Russian authorities and the government of Syria, please look at my eyes too, and the eyes of the world and of the public opinion. Are you really ready to continue this type of level of fighting using that type of weapons and de facto destroy the whole city, eastern city of Aleppo, ancient city of Aleppo, with its own 275,000 people, for the sake of eliminating 1,000 al-Nusra fighters? Or are you rather ready to announce an immediate and total aerial bombing halt if al-Nusra lives, and ensure that the local administration in eastern Aleppo remains in place?
At this point of great crisis, we need to be ruthlessly honest with ourselves, and there is no doubt that we are failing an increasing number of civilians in Syria at this point. A total number of 861,000 Syrians are now besieged, meaning full military encirclement, no humanitarian supplies going in, and no freedom of civilians to go in or out.
All right, so there you have the UN envoy. Now, the UN envoy even offered to the militants in Aleppo that he would personally come in and escort them out. Because it's needless to say that Syria does not have the First Amendment, freedom of speech, the very amendment under which I do this show. And it's safe to say that without the First Amendment, the Syrian nationals are restricted to what they can say on air. Alright, on that note, we've got a little bit more. At the briefing, UN Senior Advisor Jan Egeland highlighted that in addition to those in Aleppo, there are many more Syrians who are also besieged under full military encirclement without humanitarian supplies and without freedom to go or leave such areas. It is illegal by international law, and it is the reality of 861,000 Syrians. We need to be ruthlessly honest with ourselves, as there is no doubt we are failing an increasing number of civilians in Syria at this point, and this is from the United Nations. The United Nations diplomat for the Syrian conflict proposed a new truce on Thursday in hopes of averting what he called the destruction of rebel-held eastern Aleppo. The proposal by the diplomat Staffan de Mistura reflected his despair over the relentless bombardment of the Syrian military and its Russian allies in the past few weeks following the collapse of a ceasefire negotiation by Russia and the United States. But Mr. de Mistura's proposal was also seen as part of a possible new diplomatic effort to press the Russians over their role in the humanitarian disaster unfolding in Aleppo, the divided Syrian city that was once the country's commercial capital and is now a sprawling urban kill zone. De Mistura warned that Aleppo may be totally destroyed by Christmas. As much as I am no fan of the Syrian government led by Bashar al-Assad, I do not want to see civilians harmed any more than necessary. I would love to see all the civilians either evacuated, a ceasefire that actually holds, or some more peaceful resolution. However, I have to respect the opinion of General David Petraeus, who seems to indicate that there is very little chance that a single strategy, such as military or diplomatic, will hold up. It has to be both. Alright, and on that note, as I am almost at the top of the hour, yeah, you know what's coming. I'm out of here!